Hello and welcome to Women's Football Talk, the YouTube channel that brings you all the latest news and stories from around the world of women's football. Now today we're going to have a look back at all the action in the Women's Super League here in England and have a quick look at the results and action from the final day over in the NWSL in America. So this weekend it was the third match day in the WSL and we had some absolute fantastic games as always. We had Arsenal having a fantastic comeback against Aston Villa. We saw Manchester City put 5 past Bristol City and Everton once again win the Merseyside derby. So let's get into these games. We'll start off with Arsenal versus Aston Villa. Now it was a great start for Aston Villa. They took the lead after 25 minutes with Maz Pacheco getting on the end of a set piece, and it was a great header past Katie McCabe, who was towards the post, and it went past her as he gave Villa a lead, and that really frustrated Arsenal for a lot of the game. You could see that they were having chances trying to get past Daphne Van Domsela in goal, and the Aston Villa defence weren't very successful in doing anything. And I think there's times where we've seen that already this season with Arsenal, is they're just struggling to break down teams, and it's just not really working for them. However, they're lining up. Maybe Jonas Ardevell, as the weeks go on, will find that perfect solution of the 11 players that he needs on the pitch to be able to break down teams a lot easier, because Aston Villa definitely didn't make that easy for them. So Villa went in at the break 1-0 up, and then we saw changes being made as the second half wore on. You saw the likes of Chloe Lacasse, Victoria Pelova, Blackstenius all come on, trying to make that bit of difference for Arsenal, but they still weren't able to find a way back into the game at all. And then on the 88th minute we saw the return of Beth Mead after 11 months out with an ACL injury, and we saw an instant impact from Mead, who managed to play a part in both goals. First it was Katie McCabe's goal on the left hand side with an absolute rocket, a great assist from Victoria Pelova, and that drew Arsenal level, and that just gave them the confidence then. And then 2 minutes later Mead passes the ball to Alessia Rosso, who got her first WSL goal in Arsenal colours, and that gave Arsenal a comeback win and ended up taking their first 3 points of the season, and we saw them move up the table. But Arsenal, they will be knowing that they can do a lot better than this, and will be hoping that they are able to do so. This weekend they have a new away trip. They have a trip against Bristol City in Bristol. So obviously having Beth Mead back, that'll give the whole squad a bit of confidence. We know what she's capable of doing. Yes, she may not be coming in from the start straight away, but more bench appearances for the first couple of weeks as she fully gets back integrated into playing regular football again. But yeah, it's just something like that, and a player returning. I mean, you could see the atmosphere at the Emirates Stadium. It just lifted the whole team and able to get that win. So yeah, that's really crucial for Arsenal. Aston Villa, on the other hand, 3 losses in a row to start this season. Is the missing of Kenza Darley and Kirsty Hansen really hurting Aston Villa that badly? I would say so. At the same time, I do think how they've been lining up with Rachel Daly as the lone striker hasn't really helped, because we've seen during the games, usually at half-time, however it wasn't until late on in the game that she brought on Ebony Salmon, because that usually helps change the game around when she's came on in the first 2 games, but that didn't help them. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Aston Villa go about their next couple of games. Can they finally find that first win? Looking ahead for them, they've got Tottenham Hotspur and Chelsea to come, so it's going to be a very, very tough ask for Carla Waldside to pick up their first 3 points of the season. Right, let's continue with the rest of the league. And Manchester City beat Bristol City by 5-0. Jules Rord and Khadija Bunishaw both scoring a brace, and Leia Alexandri also scored her first goal for the club. And it was a stat that came out after that game that all 5 of the goals from Manchester City were all scored in the first half, and they were all headed goals, and it's the most headed goals in a single WSL match ever. So that is one for the history books. And yeah, Man City looking really dangerous at this minute in time. Khadija Shaw was able to start for the first time this season after recovering from injury, and I think this team are going to go from strength to strength. Gareth Taylor's side do look the real deal at the minute, and they currently occupy top spot. Yes, it's only been 3 games, but when you look at the rest of the league, you take these wins when you can, and I'm expecting them to continue to show why they are such a force. Now, like I said, it was the Merseyside derby that was the big game this weekend, and it was Everton that ran out 1-0 winners against Liverpool. Megan Finnegan with a first half goal, and yeah, I think Everton, they know how to get the victories at Anfield, and they really know how to make it tough for Liverpool, and that's what they were able to do throughout the whole game. And then Megan Finnegan scoring the goal in the 31st minute was enough for Brian Sorensen's side to pick up their first victory of the season. A quick look at the rest of the results this weekend. Manchester United were held to a 1-1 draw with Leicester City. Aileen Whelan put Leicester ahead on the hour mark before a Maya Letizier goal a couple of minutes later drew Man United level. They had plenty of chances, Mark Skinner side. There was a few changes we saw. Hinata Miyazawa, Melvin Mallard all start from the beginning, and we saw a Latoon finally arrested. However, for Man United, it's going to be a bit of concern because as a time of recording, we don't know the full extent of their injury, but Gabby George had to go off quite early on the game with injury after just 9 minutes, and then 15 minutes from time, her replacement Jade Riviera also had to go off with a bit of a knock. So we don't know the full extent of their injuries, but hopefully they aren't too serious. For Leicester, they dropped down to second place on 7 points, while Manchester United sit in 6th place with 5 points. Elsewhere, Tottenham managed to beat Brighton and Hove Albion by 3-1. Rhea Percival, Martha Thomas and Grace Clinton with the goals. That was despite Brighton taking an early lead through Elizabeth Turland. And then finally, the game on Saturday saw Chelsea beat West Ham United by 2-0. Sam Kerr and Erin Cuthbert with the goals. So it was a good weekend for Chelsea. So a quick run through of the table. We have Manchester City at top, Leicester City in second, Chelsea, Tottenham, Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal, Everton, West Ham and Brighton, and then 2 winless sides in Aston Villa and Bristol City are the final 2 teams this season. So obviously they'll be getting back into action later on this week, and for Manchester United they will be facing PSG on Wednesday in the Champions League. Right now, obviously the NWSL, and like I said, this was the final weekend of the regular season. Plenty of drama as there was a lot to be decided who would go on to win the regular season shield for finishing in first place and who would make or miss out on the playoffs, and it was drama right the way through. So we'll just go through the results. So the San Diego Wave beat Racing Louisville by 2-0, and with Angel City beating Portland Thorns by 5-1, it meant San Diego Wave took home the NWSL Shield for finishing in first place with 37 points, and the Portland Thorns finished on 35. And for that victory for Angel City and results elsewhere, it means Angel City will take 5th place and are in the playoffs. Elsewhere, OL Reign beat Chicago Red Stars 3-0. Megan Rapinoe scored a brace, and that saw the OL Reign finish in 4th place. The North Carolina Courage beat Washington Spirit by 1-0. That means North Carolina take 3rd spot and Washington Spirit miss out on the playoffs, and after finishing in 8th. Orlando Pride beat the Houston Dash by 1-0 to see the Pride finish in 7th place. So it was a big weekend and a very fantastic and fanatic final day in the NWSL. So the playoffs will be starting this weekend. We have OL Reign versus Angel City first, and then we have the North Carolina Courage taking on Gotham FC, and then they will progress to the following weeks or after the international break, the semi-finals should they get there. So plenty to look forward to over the next coming weeks. Obviously, with more Champions League action on Wednesday. All the second legs take place then, and the draw for the group stages will take place on Friday. And we can have a full discussion on the Women's Football Talk podcast later on this week, so make sure you check that out on all streaming platforms where you get your podcasts from. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram for all the latest news and stories from around the world of women's football. And in the meantime, we'll see you soon.